A recent thread on SRK that I just looked at gave me an idea for a new podcast. And funnily enough, it was affirmed by something I saw Ultra David say on Twitter, and it had to do with how he, when he used to play a lot, he found it hard to fight people who weren't good, or as he put it, idiots, because he only had setups against smart people, but he didn't exactly know how to fight people who weren't good. And it's funny because I've always seen people who, well, I guess you could say, are very good and very smart when it comes to fighting against people. Like, they know all the setups, they know, resets, they know how to sort of think their way through stuff against people who are equally good, if not better. But when it comes to fighting people who are just random, they just fall apart. And yes, most people fall apart when it comes to people playing random in general. But I've noticed that there's a particular sort of subset of people who genuinely don't have the mindset of fighting, well, just new people, because either they just expect people to be good, or they just don't really understand how to put up with random. I mean, most people don't, but more so than others. And it's funny because I'm probably one of the few people who actually knows how to deal with people, well, at most levels, definitely. Like, I can accommodate for most levels, but I know how to specifically fight those who aren't very good. Like, that's something I surprisingly am good at. I thought it's something that good players are good at in general, but I've noticed as time goes on that not everybody's that good at fighting people who are new, fighting people who are random or just spam or whatever. And I find it interesting because the way I got into fighting games and the way I usually get into new fighting games is I'm sort of thrown to the wolves among pretty much just the low levels, because obviously I start off new, I start off fighting against people who aren't very good. Like, I don't always start off in a fighting game when the fighting game is already in progress and there's already loads of good people. This could be through friends to fight, a ranking system, or just who you encounter, but I never really end up with people who are really good from the get-go, because I mean, if I did, I probably wouldn't have turned out the way I have now when it comes to my fighting style. But at the very least, and perhaps the bottom line is, one thing I did learn, and it kind of shaped the way I think and the way I play till now, is I pretty much from the get-go learned how to fight noobs. I learned how to fight people who aren't that good. I mean, in a way, it sort of made me the king of noobs. And I'm not saying like I'm like the best player ever. I'm not like the best, in many games or anything, especially fighting games. But it's more like in a fighting game, like when you want to start leveling up, when you want to start moving on from just being, just playing casuals or just sort of playing from sort of day one, week one tactics. You want to really start leveling up, and I have leveled up in pretty much every fighting game I've played. The first thing you have to do, at least with the way I've been playing, is fight your way through, the scrubs, through the mashers, through the people who throw out random things, through the people who don't think. Once you can overcome that by playing smart, then the rest is a gradual build-up. The rest is picking and choosing what you want to know. You want to learn your setups, you want to learn your combos, you want to learn your matchups, you want to learn how to do this within the game system, how to figure out like the best course of action, when to use a super, when to do this, and so on. So it's a learning experience from there. Other people, I think, will pretty much try to learn everything at once and try to think of really smart things to beat people who, because they want to outsmart people, sort of like a game of chess, and that's definitely a great way of going about it. But perhaps the downfall of this approach is that you don't really think about how to fight people who wouldn't know all of these things and would instead just sort of go random and just go crazy. And I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't me being preaching, saying everyone has to learn how to fight noobs, but rather it's an interesting thing that it really goes to show how people have different experiences, and certainly it means that if you play a certain way, it will determine the kind of people that you're better at fighting against compared to others. And I'd have to say that at the very least, I may not be the best player in most games, I may not be the most well known, either online or in general, but I can definitely say for a lot of the fighting games I've been, I'm probably the king of noobs at the very least. It's not exactly a glorious title. It's not exactly the sort of thing you can, write home about. But I at least feel content that for the most part, the one thing I can deal with is people who just do stupid shit. So, I mean, that's just pretty much it. This was just sort of me speculating on how fighting game experiences from beginners may change the sort of way you play. So that's pretty much it. But my advice to any player in general is sometimes to just take a step back from all the smart play. And I'm not saying play random or play stupid. Just assume that whoever you fight could be at any skill level. At any skill level. And the best thing to do is to play your game and make sure that every choice you make is the right one. And if you come up against someone who's being random, being stupid, just take a step back, let them blow themselves up. Your training will do the rest, as they say. And well, that's just pretty much it. That's my advice to you. And yeah, this is JusticeSoulTuna. See you later.